Hey guys, Austin here, and the 3DS turned 6 all the way back in February of this year. And the 3DS happens to be one of my favorite portable handheld consoles of all time. So I thought, hey, why not do a video on my personal experiences with the 3DS?
Now a little backstory. I never grew up with the DS as a kid. Yeah, shocking, I know. Instead, I grew up with a PSP, a PlayStation Portable. And I had some pretty decent games for the system, like Star Wars The Force Unleashed and Star Wars Battlefront 2. But in the year of 2011 for Christmas, my cousins got their very own 3DS, and whenever they came over to visit, I would always be playing on one of their 3DSs. So finally for Christmas of 2012, I finally got my very own red 3DS. And it's the same 3DS I still have to this very day. Yeah. I don't have a new 3DS XL. I never got one because I never really seemed a real reason to get one. But once as I got older, the screen started to become too small for my liking, and the 3DS slider stopped working on it, so I had to go into the settings and put a parental restriction on it. But I was gonna get a new 3DS XL regardless. This just gave me a more reason to ask for it. But at the time of this recording, I still don't have one, but I'm planning on getting one for Christmas. Which, by the way, while on the subject, I should probably talk about the other variants of the 3DS. Nintendo released the 3DS XL in 2012, and it improved almost everything the OG 3DS had wrong with it. It changed the layout, and had a much bigger and better screen, hence the name 3DS XL. Then in October of 2013, the Nintendo 2DS came out, and to be really honest, I really don't like the style of the 2DS, and I still don't to this day. I just thought there was no real need for the system. In February of 2015, Nintendo released the new 3DS XL, which again had a different layout and about the same size screen, and with it also being able to play SNES games on the Virtual Console. Then about 8 months later, Nintendo released the new 3DS, which is just the original 3DS design but with a nipple added to it and a more redefined look.
And then
Nintendo released a new Nintendo 2DS XL, which is basically a cheaper version of the 3DS XL with a 3DS design, but without the 3D slider. So with all of that, Nintendo released about 7 versions of the 3DS. Holy crap, that's a lot. Anyways, but back to my first 3DS story. Along with my OG 3DS, I got LEGO Ninjago DS, LEGO Star Wars 3, Clone Wars, and LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean, which I do not own any of those games anymore. Yeah, I was a young child, and I was in love with LEGO, and I still am today, but those games just weren't all too good in my opinion. I don't know, maybe there's someone out there who loves these games so much that if you say a single bad thing about them, they'll hunt you down and make you worship the game. But my 3DS collection has grown a lot since then. I've gotten a lot more games for the system, but there are a few games for the system I haven't gotten yet, like any Fire Emblem games, Bravely series, Mario Party Top 100, Xenoblade Chronicles, and a few others. But on Easter of 2013, I got Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, which is a sequel to the GameCube classic Luigi's Mansion, and I absolutely love this game. It's a fantastic game. The 3DS is where I played a lot of famous franchises for the first time, like Kid Icarus, Monster Hunter, Animal Crossing, Kingdom Hearts, Rayman, Chibi Robo, Kirby, Donkey Kong Country, and of course, Pokemon. And the Nintendo 3DS is where I played my first Zelda game, which was Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. I first played this game when I was in 6th grade. A friend of mine let me borrow the game for a while, so I took it home, stuck it in my 3DS, and played it for about 20 minutes and set the game down. I was lost and I had no idea what to do. So therefore, my 12-year-old mind went like, "This game stinks! No good," and gave it back to my friend. Yeah, I know, shocking. I didn't like the game very much until a few years later, when I'm older, much more of a Zelda fan, and after watching the Game Grumps play it, and thinking to myself, what was wrong with me back then? I picked up the game again, and played it all the way through, and loved it, with it being the first Zelda game I've ever beaten.
So to my friend Oswaldo, who lent me the game all the way back in 6th grade, thank you for lending me a great game and getting me started on my Legend of Zelda adventure. And I also have your game case. So sorry about that. Forgot to give this back.
The 3DS was home to not 1, but 2 Metroid games this year. Finally, after 7 years of waiting for another Metroid game, we finally got one.
Now we should probably talk about the 3DS Metroid game that came first, Metroid Prime Federation Force. Now with this being the first Metroid game since...
Yeah, this game wasn't received very well when it was first shown off, with it being the first Metroid game in over 6 years. And because it wasn't a traditional Metroid game, everybody and their mothers hated it. Also combining to the fact that it didn't do so well. But I bet if this game came out after Metroid Return of Samus, it would have been better received. But it was just the unloved child. Speaking of Metroid's Return of Samus, Metroid Return of Samus! This is a traditional 2D Metroid game like Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, and etc. And with it being sort of a recreation of the Game Boy sequel to the first game, and unlike Federation Force, everyone and their mothers love this game. And also, how can I talk about the 3DS without mentioning Pokemon? The 3DS had so many Pokemon games for it. Pokemon Rumble Blast, Pokemon Art Academy, Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates into Infinity, Pokemon X and Y, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Pokemon Sun and Moon, and Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
And that's without counting the Virtual Console Pokemon games.
I didn't play any of the spin-off Pokemon games for the system, mainly the main entry games, like X and Y, which I loved, with the Kalos region becoming my favorite Pokemon region. Then after those two games came Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, released in November of 2014, which was a remake of Ruby and Sapphire, but with a few of the X and Y tropes, like Mega Evolutions. Then in November of last year, Nintendo released Pokemon Sun and Moon, which took the pretty simple Pokemon formula and added a lot of new things to it, like no more HMs. Finally, yes! Now some HMs were actually good moves and attacks for your Pokemon, like Surf, Rock Smash, and Cut. I haven't completed Pokemon Sun yet, but from the 12 hours I played, I'm loving every moment of it. A few months ago, Nintendo released Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which is like their version of Black 2 and White 2. And I love Pokemon Black 2. When they first showed off the game, I didn't think too much of it at first, but then after looking at some more gameplay footage and trailers, realizing, oh, this is just Sun and Moon version of Black 2 and White 2. I still haven't gotten the game because, does it look like I have any money in this wallet? The 3DS had a few special features, like one where you could go and check on how much time you spent and played on a game. It was fun to see how much time I spent in Super Mario 3D Land. Along with the 3DS came with a built-in camera. I mainly filled it up with Pokemon X and Y and Super Smash Bros. Pictures. And also, one on the subject, a Super Smash Bros. Game for a handheld! What?! Finally, a portable Smash Bros. Game. I spent so much time on this game. I remember my grandma got it for me on the day of release, and there it was, right on my bed, right as I got home from school. I won't go into too much detail because I plan on making a review for this game sometime in the future, but I played this game so much. I have so many memories of playing this game with my friend on the bus in the 8th grade. It's a lot of fun and looks and sounds and runs pretty good on the system.
The 3DS is probably one of the best portable consoles that Nintendo has put out, with it also having the ability to play original DS games and indie games, and also virtual console games ranging from Game Boy to Super Nintendo. This is truly a bang for your buck. That's it. That's the end of the video. What's that? I forgot to talk about the 3D feature on the 3DS. Pfft, no one used that.